The United States of Horror may contain some graphic or explicit content that is not suitable for all ages. Listener discretion is advised.
You people have already given me a headache.
You were still up a headache.
Are we recording?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
How'd you know, Jeff?
Because you always get happy when you're recording.
Your tone did change.
Does it?
Yeah.
You
Is
went
it like
from...
my customer service voice?
Yes. And I learned customer service voice quite well.
Hello, welcome to the United States of Horror.
Starring Kaylee.
And Kaylee.
And Brenton.
And Brenton.
Maybe Jeff.
Maybe. We'll see.
If he survives.
So, how's everyone doing? Anything new?
Oh, you're asking us?
Yeah. Well, I also be asking them. You never know. I'm up for anything.
They can answer later.
Yeah. How are you guys doing? How is everyone in the room too?
I'm doing fine.
Just that's it. I'm fine. You know, they say I'm fine is the worst thing to say to someone.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. This is fine. Oh no.
It's fine, guys. It's fine. It's
So, what state are we doing?
I don't know.
Michigan.
Just kidding.
Something about Michigan.
I knew it was Michigan.
Sorry guys. We put baby in the corner, so we're trying not to, wake the beast.
Well, they're probably going to be happier about that so they don't hear any screeching in the middle of an episode.
Oh yeah, screeching. Yeah, not.
Yeah, because she screeches.
TT Beth.
Oh, I was more talking about myself.
Oh, that's true.
Oh. TT Beth.
Because we're going to try and be quiet. So the headphone users are going to be a lot happier.
Yes.
It's going to sound very ASMR-y.
Sure, I talk like this, guys. It's a lot better. What are we doing again?
Michigan.
Michigan. Sorry, guys.
Podcast.
I want to go first. I'm
You wanna
just
go
putting
first?
it out there.
Okay.
Okay, you can go first.
Before we get into it, we had someone comment on one of our Instagram posts, a personal experience with Robert the doll.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sweet.
So Laura commented saying, she said, from personal experience, I know that Robert is not to be taken lightly. After visiting him in East Martello Museum back in the early 2000s, I lost a sapphire out of my ring. She says, I fully believe in the paranormal and in curses, and Robert epitomizes both.
Oh, wow.
So...
That's awesome.
Thanks for the story.
Kind of freaks me out. I hope we didn't say anything mean. I don't think we did. I think we were pretty respectful.
I've been on a pretty good luck streak, so...
I said I like Robert. I love him.
He might not like that, Jeffrey.
I did not diss Robert. I just said dolls scare me. If anything, that probably made him feel good.
Probably compared to every other doll. Good job, Brenton. That's why I said I love him specifically.
Let's just stop talking about it. I'm scared.
I want him to be my friend.
Thank you, Laura? You said?
Yeah.
Laura.
Yeah. And
Very
thanks
cool.
everyone for all the support and
Yeah.
just everything.
We're having fun doing this.
Yes.
You are? Because I'm miserable.
No, I see your face every night when you're looking at murderers and stuff. You get a little gleam in your eye. It scares me.
That's for other reasons.
Oh, yeah.
This is turning into a different podcast.
Arizona Part 3. The Death of Jeffy. Who was it? Oh, everyone knows.
Kaylee finally snapped.
We don't blame you. I don't blame you.
All right.
Okay, Michigan.
So where does your story take
Okay.
us besides Michigan?
So, I am really excited about this week's topic because I'm going to be talking about Dr. Jack Kevorkian.
That name does not ring a bell to me.
Dr. Death!
Still doesn't ring a bell to me. This is new for me.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
I am even more excited because your mind is going to be blown.
Yay.
I like this story. I like this guy.
There's a lot to unravel. As per usual with my stories, I kind of go a little crazy with...
She has like pages, guys. Pages. And she has a...
That's a little dramatic, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Really dramatic. I just saw your scrolling of your phone. Like...
It's not that much.
5 good swipes. Yeah, see? 6, 7,
I have 5
8,
screenshots.
9.
So I do have to call out my source because pretty much all of my information is coming off of this specific website with a little bit of like Wikipedia mixed in, but it is biography.com/amp/scientist/Jack-Kevorkian.
So they have
I'll just link it.
So this this site probably has more people like that.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a good site to go browse anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But listen to us.
But listen to us first.
As we look up them, and then we can discuss them.
So, Jack Kevorkian, a.k.a. Dr. Death. He was born Murad Kevorkian in Pontiac, Michigan on May 26, 1928. So, he was the second of 3 children, and he was born to Armenian immigrants, Levon and Satinig Kevorkian. Both of his parents are actually refugees who escaped the Armenian massacre that occurred shortly after World War I.
Okay.
So, his father was smuggled out of Turkey by missionaries in 1912, and he made his way to Pontiac, Michigan, and found work at an automobile factory. And then his mother fled the Armenian Death March, and she found refuge in Paris with relatives. And eventually she reunited with her brother, who was also in Pontiac, Michigan. So that's where...
It's a crazy love story, huh?
Yeah, kind of crazy how his parents both fled and ended up in...
the same town.
Mm-hmm. Kind of cute.
Oh, boy.
So
A
sweet.
sick
Yeah,
computer.
so in Pontiac, there was an Armenian community, and that's how his parents met. They had his sister Margaret in 1926, and then right after that, Jack was born, and he did have a younger sibling, Flora. So he was a middle child.
Yay, us middle children.
Represent. So his father lost his job at the foundry in the early 1930s. Shortly after that, he actually started his own excavation company. So that was a pretty big deal for immigrants to establish their own company, and that was during the Depression era, but they were living pretty comfortably.
Okay.
They were living in a multicultural suburb in Pontiac. So Kevorkian was quoted saying, "My parents sacrificed a great deal so that we children would be spared undue privation and misery." And he also wrote that there was always enough to eat. So he had a pretty,
Roof over his head.
Yeah.
Full
They were
stomach,
doing good while everyone else was pretty much struggling.
Fair enough.
His parents were also very strict and religious, and they really instilled in their children that you work hard and you're obedient Christians. Jack, at a young age, though, had very conflicting feelings towards religious ideas. So he started debating God's existence when he was
10, 12.
When he was about 12, and he stopped attending church altogether, which was kind of a big deal to his parents, who were pretty strict in their faith.
Kind of like a slap to their face, but like, what can you do about it?
Yeah. So not only were they, pretty enforcing on religion, they also encouraged them to do well in school. And all of them did very well. They demonstrated high academic intelligence. And then Jack, because he was the only boy, he was kind of pushed a lot harder than the girls were. His expectations were a lot higher. So he took it in stride. He rose to the occasion. And even as a young boy, he was a voracious reader. He loved everything that had to do with school, basically. He loved arts, drawing, painting, piano,
history, and just everything.
Yeah, he was very well-rounded. So, because he had a highly critical mind, he rarely accepted ideas at face value. He was often engaging in arguments with his teachers, sometimes humiliated them when they couldn't keep up with his sharp debate skills. So he was very vocal. And even
a politician.
He could have, anyway. Listening to him in some of the videos that I watched, he's very passionate when he talks. And he's very, very, very convinced of his ideas and his beliefs. Like, you could not tell him otherwise. So, because he was so sharp-minded and learning came so effortlessly to him, a lot of the times he was alienated from his peers. So, he was actually promoted to junior high school when he was in 6th grade.
Wow.
And by the time he was in high school, he had taught himself German and Japanese, which are 2 hard languages to learn. especially Japanese. So you can kind of get an idea of how sharp he was. He was often labeled an eccentric bookworm, and he just had a lot of trouble making friends. He also basically gave up the idea of romantic relationships. He believed them unnecessary diversions from his studies. So his focus was education, very book smart. And then at the age of 17, he actually graduated from Pontiac High School in 1945. He was accepted into the University of Michigan College of Engineering. That was harder than it should have been. It was in his mind to become a civil engineer. However, halfway through his freshman year, he got bored with his studies, and he began focusing on botany and biology. I really hope I'm saying these things right. And if I'm not,
So far.
So far.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't have a degree or anything. So.
Yeah, I'm not on his level at all, so.
Obviously, he knows way more than us guys.
Yeah.
He's in college. When I graduated Chino Valley.
Good job. So midway through the year, he had his sights set on medical school. He graduated in medicine at the University of Michigan in 1952 and began a specialty in pathology soon after. However, in 1953, the Korean War abruptly halted Kevorkian's career. He actually served 15 months as an Army medical officer in Korea and then finished his service out in Colorado. So he's a veteran. So while serving his residency at the University of Michigan Hospital in the 1950s, Kevorkian became fascinated by death and the act of dying. He eventually made regular visits to terminally ill patients. He started photographing their eyes in an attempt to pinpoint the exact moment of death. And he believed that doctors could use that information to distinguish death from fainting, shock, or coma in order to learn when resuscitation was useless. And he's quoted saying, "But really my number one reason was because it was interesting. And my second reason was because it was a taboo subject." So that's kind of his mindset. You
want to discuss it. You want to learn.
He really liked to push boundaries.
Especially with death and something, that's...
I think he just really liked to spark conversation. So Kevorkian proposed that death row prison inmates should be used as subjects of medical experiments while they were still alive. So that caused a stir among his colleagues.
That's inhumane and wrong and stuff. And he's just saying, hey, I'm trying to learn here, guys. They're going to die anyway. We should learn from this.
Yeah, so, I mean, he did not hesitate in bringing up ideas that he knew would rock the boat and cause waves. He was very inspired by research that described medical experiments that ancient Greeks conducted on Egyptian criminals. He formulated the idea that similar modern experiments could not only save valuable research dollars, but also provide a glimpse into the anatomy of a criminal mind. So in 1958, he advocated his view in a paper presented to the American Association for the Advancement of Science, which his ideas were way ahead of his time. Because nowadays you look at Netflix and what do we have? Well,
true crime stuff everywhere. What are we doing right now? Talking about true crime stuff.
That's
like, imagine if we had a way to tell someone if they're going to go snap and become a killer just by looking at them in their eyes or whatever.
So in a method he called terminal human experimentation, he argued that condemned convicts could provide a service to humanity before their execution by volunteering for painless medical experiments that would begin while they were conscious, but would end in fatality. This is kind of where his nickname came in as Dr. Death, and it sort of stuck with him for reasons we will discuss. He started to get minor media attention, which ultimately resulted in his ejection from the University of Michigan Medical Center. He did continue his internship at Pontiac General Hospital and again began another set of controversial experiments. After hearing about a Russian medical team who was transfusing blood from corpses into living patients, he enlisted the help of medical technologist Neil Nickel to simulate these experiments. So they were highly successful, and Kevorkian believed that the procedures could help save lives on the battlefield if blood from a bank was unavailable. So, I mean, like, the whole point of this is to kind of show his medical career was just unorthodox from the beginning.
But he did have some good ideas.
Yeah, he had noble ideas. It wasn't anything, I don't see it as... Inhumane.
In a way, you have to think of, like, his way of thinking was, like you said, ahead of his time. Because way back then, for example, showing a woman's neck was considered really bad for a TV show. But nowadays, look what we have on TV.
Yeah.
And that's his way of thinking. Like, in order to get advancement, sometimes you have to go outside the box, which can be conceived as weird, unethical, dangerous, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and he faced a lot of rejection because he did pitch this idea of transferring blood from corpses into people or into injured soldiers to the Pentagon, and they denied him a federal grant to continue his research. So, if anything, it just kind of spurred on his reputation as an outsider, and it put kind of a fear in his colleagues. So he was he was just kind of cast out from...
He was cast out from all of his peers, all of his
public
colleagues.
Public outlook.
And eventually he was infected with hepatitis C in the process too. Oh. So he got a little too involved in his research, to say the least.
You got hepatitis C?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, there. So he qualified as a specialist in 1960, and he bounced around the country from hospital to hospital, publishing more than 30 professional journal articles and booklets about his philosophy on death. And then eventually he set up his own clinic near Detroit, Michigan, but that business ultimately failed. And Kevorkian headed to California to commute between 2 part-time pathology jobs in Long Beach. So these jobs also ended quickly, and Kevorkian quit in another dispute with chief pathologist. Jack claimed that his career was doomed by physicians who feared his radical ideas. So truly, he just was setting himself up for failure after failure because he had these extreme ideas, or what was considered extreme back then, and nobody would
go along with it?
No. And it was a lot harder to persuade people back then, as it is now.
Well, yeah. And take this blood from this dead guy and give it to this guy who's injured. Why would you do that to a dead body? Think about the live person who lived. No, think about the dead body. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, you'd be like, well, can we just take out the organ out of him, organ donor, and just give it to this guy over here who lost a kidney? Mm-hmm. So I kind of understand where he was coming from, but he should have approached it a different way. Just because he grew up that way, battling and arguing, he probably had that come out of it too.
Yeah. So through all that, he ended up retiring, air quotes, and devoted his time to film a project about Handel's Messiah. Don't know what that is, I'm sorry. He threw himself into researching his reinvigorated death row campaign. So by the 1970s, Kevorkian was jobless, and he lost his fiancée.
He had a fiancée?
Yeah, somewhere in there he...
Getting hepatitis C, retiring.
Yeah, he retired, he got hep C,
so
he got engaged.
Just imagine the conversation. So what do you like to do on your weekend? Well, you see, there's a body I want to transfer blood from. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess from what I saw, it said that he broke off the relationship after finding his bride to be lacking in self-discipline.
Aww.
So I just don't think that he was very compatible with other humans. Like I said, when he spoke, he was very, very passionate about what he was talking about. Sometimes it's hard to process what someone's saying when they're basically yelling it at you. Mm-hmm. Even though you're not arguing with them, it's like they want to argue their point. And that's just kind of the person that he seemed to have been from what I saw.
Seems to be on for everyone, including her.
Yeah.
Now, so, hey, honey, what's for dinner? I don't know. What is for dinner? What do you want?
So, I mean, he was in a pretty rough way by 1982. He was living alone, occasionally sleeping in his car, living off canned food and Social Security. So in 1985, he returned to Michigan and wrote a comprehensive history of experiments on executed humans, which he did publish in the obscure Journal of the National Medical Association after more prestigious journals rejected it. So again, it was just a whole lot of rejection. But by 1986, he discovered a way to expand his death row proposal when he learned that doctors in the Netherlands were helping people die by lethal injection. This kind of spurred on a new crusade for him in assisted suicide, or euthanasia. So this kind of became an extension of his campaign for medical experiments on the dying. And he began writing new articles, this time about the benefits of euthanasia. He followed up his papers with the creation of a suicide machine, which he called the Thanatron, Greek for instrument of death. Sounds kind of cool.
Thanos.
Yeah. Thanatron. Yeah, Thanos. Wow.
God of death.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Mind blown.
My mind's still blown.
Take a minute to recover.
So this Thanatron actually took about $45 worth of materials to build. So the Thanatron consisted of 3 bottles that delivered successive doses of fluids. First, a saline solution.
Wait, can I get a pen and pencil and paper? Can I? Okay, never mind.
Just take notes when you listen back.
Okay.
So first a saline solution, followed by a painkiller, and finally a fatal dose of the poison potassium chloride. So using his design, patients who were ill could even administer the lethal dose of poison themselves. So basically he was putting it in their hands and allowing them
The option.
allowing them to press the button themselves and administer it to themselves. So in a roundabout way, he was not the one who was doing it. It was the patients making the decision and administering the doses themselves. He just provided the outlet. So
Wow, he got to study, people dying for science.
for science. So after years of rejection from national medical journals and media outlets, Kevorkian finally became the focus of national attention for his machine and his proposal to set up a franchise of obituariums where doctors could help the terminally ill end their lives. Obviously, that is a hugely controversial subject.
Even to this day.
Even to this day, it's something that people aren't 100% about. It's still something that's widely discussed, and you have people on both sides that are very extreme.
Yeah. Or people that, like, don't resuscitate me when I die. And they have a loved one saying, do it. Like, you have to listen to this guy because it's their choice, but...
Yeah.
Just...
DNRs come before personal want.
Yeah. It was just hugely, hugely controversial, which I think he just thrived on, honestly.
The argument, yeah.
Yeah. So Jack Kevorkian became infamous in 1990 when he assisted in the suicide of Janet Adkins, a 54-year-old Alzheimer patient from Michigan. So she was a member of the Hemlock Society, which was an organization that advocates voluntary euthanasia for terminally ill patients before she became ill. And then after she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, Adkins began searching for someone to end her life before the degenerative disease took full effect. She heard about Kevorkian through the media and how he invented a suicide machine and reached out to him about using the invention on her. So he did agree to assist her in a public park inside his Volkswagen van, where he attached the IV and Adkins administered her own painkiller and then the poison. So within 5 minutes, Adkins died of heart failure. And when news hit media outlets, Kevorkian became a national celebrity and a criminal. So immediately the state of Michigan tried to charge Kevorkian with Adkins' murder. But the case was later dismissed because Michigan's stance on assisted suicide was indecisive.
Wow.
They didn't have a yes or no, so...
Yeah, they didn't have anything truly set in stone. So they couldn't convict him of her murder. However, they did suspend his medical license.
Yeah.
So it didn't stop him.
No.
But it did make it a lot harder for him to get materials.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't get the medications that he needed, he eventually assembled a new machine and called it the Mercitron, which delivered carbon monoxide through a gas mask. Yeah. And then the year after that, Michigan legislature passed a bill outlawing assisted suicide. So they did make a stance, and they specifically passed it to stop Kevorkian's assisted suicide campaign. So throughout this time, just remember he's actively helping people.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. And then that same year that they passed that law, he was jailed twice. But each time he was bailed out by his lawyer, who helped Kevorkian escape conviction by successfully arguing that a person may not be found guilty of criminally assisting a suicide if they administered medication with the intent to relieve pain and suffering, even if it did increase the risk of death. Wow. So they kind of found a loophole.
Yeah.
They're smart guys. He's a smart guy.
He was prosecuted a total of 4 times in Michigan for assisted suicide, and he was acquitted in 3 of the cases, and a mistrial was declared for the 4th one. So he's been getting away with it basically each time.
Every time.
He was pretty disappointed. He began telling reporters that he wanted to be imprisoned in order to shed light on the hypocrisy and the corruption of society. So truly, I think that at this point, it became more of like a media campaign and an attempt to...
Becoming famous forever.
Yeah. He really wanted to make his mark, and after so much rejection and
best way to sell
not
a book.
being able to put his journals out there or publish anything in any sort of journals, he finally has a chance to have a voice, and he feels not going to jail is stifling that.
Right.
So, in 1998, Michigan legislature enacted a law making assisted suicide a felony, punishable by a maximum of 5-year prison sentence or a $10,000 fine. So it was a felony. However, 5 years.
Yeah,
that's nothing.
$10,000. That's what blows my mind.
So basically, that loophole that they were able to find is
gone now.
Gone. Despite this, he persisted. He did not back down, and he continued to help assist patients.
Yep.
So he didn't stop, nor did the courts. They continued to pursue him on criminal charges. And so that same year, in 1998, when he was really just going into it head first with all the passion in the world, he allowed the CBS television news program 60 Minutes to air a tape he's made of lethal injection of Thomas Uke. Uke suffered from Lou Gehrig's disease and had requested Kevorkian's help. On the recording, Kevorkian helped administer the drugs for his patient. Following the broadcast footage, Kevorkian spoke to 60 Minutes reporters and dared the courts to pursue him legally. So he's rubbing it in their faces at this point.
Yeah.
Obviously, prosecutors saw this, and they brought a 2nd-degree murder charge against Kevorkian. In this case, Kevorkian decided that it would probably be best if he served as his own legal counsel.
That's always a good choice.
As they always do. Why do they do that?
Drama.
True. Probably.
Tension.
Ego.
Who's smarter than the man who did it?
Mainly ego. Yeah. So on March 26, 1999, a jury in Oakland County convicted Jack Kevorkian of 2nd-degree murder and the illegal delivery of a controlled substance. So they finally got him. There was not much that he could do, and in April he was sentenced to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole.
And at that time, he's like around, 70? He was born in 20?
I don't know.
28.
He was born in 29.
29.
So 70 years. So, wow, his whole...
Yeah. So, during the next 3 years, he attempted to pursue the conviction in appeals court. His request was refused. Lawyers representing Kevorkian sought to bring the case to the U.S. Supreme Court, but that request was also declined. So, I hate to laugh, but...
Irony.
It's just like everything that he pursued in life.
Rejected.
Yeah. Constant rejection. I hate to laugh, but it's just...
It's ironic. It is.
And then the way that things go, obviously, June 1st of 2007, after serving a little more than 8 years of his sentence, he was released from prison on good behavior. And he promised, the good doctor promised, not to assist in any more suicides. He made good on the promise.
Okay.
That we know of.
I said it way more sarcastically than I should have. At this point, though, he was suffering from liver damage due to his advanced stages of hep C. And doctors didn't think that he had much more time to live. But miraculously, he mended and began touring the lecture circuit, speaking out about assisted suicide. What else? So in March of 2008, he announced that he had plans to run...
For president?
No. Had plans to run as an independent candidate for a seat in the U.S. Congress representing Michigan. But he didn't win.
Yeah.
So he didn't win the election, but he did earn 2.6% of the vote.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, he had supporters, which is... I'm not that surprised about it. There are a lot of people that still to this day they advocate for assisted suicide.
Yeah. Ironically, though, his own life puts a dent in his beliefs. He was close to liver failure and miraculously recovered.
Well, that's my thing about it too. Is I get it. People don't want to have to go through the suffering if you have a brain tumor or something that's going to be horrible to go through. I get it. Nobody wants to face that kind of pain and suffering. However, I do believe in miracles, and exactly like you said, he was an example of that. So,
like, I think if you took it a certain way instead of the drastic ways he did it, or just argue the way he did it, he could have actually got further than he did.
He was just very arrogant.
Yeah.
And I think that was the problem, the main problem.
Like I was talking about earlier with like the soldiers, that could have been a really good idea nowadays, or if you actually would have explained it more, or even just hospitals now.
There would have been a lot of problems with that though, because the blood types.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, you could probably like have your blood type on your uniform or something like that in case that situation arose, but war is complicated.
Yeah. So after that, in 2010. HBO actually announced that a film about Kevorkian's life called You Don't Know Jack would premiere in April. His role was played by Al Pacino. And it also featured Susan Sarandon and John Goodman. Yeah, we're going to have to watch that.
Yeah, that's on my to-watch list. You Don't Know Jack.
Jack. And then shortly after that, on June 3rd, 2011, 8 days after his 83rd birthday, Jack Kevorkian died at Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak, Michigan.
Did he have help with suicide?
No. He'd been hospitalized for about 2 weeks with his kidney and heart problems.
Okay. I wonder what he was thinking the last 2 weeks.
I really wish I had some, potassium chloride? I don't know.
Imagine him looking at all those eyes of his victims, seeing the life go before them. Imagine him looking up in his doctor now. As his last.
Yeah. He was actually a very talented artist. He has a lot of paintings I'm going to have to post after that are they're pretty dark. So it's kind of a glimpse into his mind, just how twisted his imagination is. And yeah. So he was a very talented human, very bright.
He just chose to put his strengths into assisted suicide.
But yeah.
So total, I'm not done. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Oh wait, I'm gonna say this first, and then I can ask your questions because I might answer your question.
Okay.
Maybe. So in all, Jack assisted the suicide of 130 terminally ill patients.
Wow.
130.
That's a lot.
So if you consider it murder, that's 130 people that he killed. But if you consider it their
choice,
then...
He was present for 130 deaths.
Yes. So, I also wanted to say that Jeff and I actually saw the van. It's currently located at Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas.
Very cool room.
Yeah. So it was kind of crazy to... It got really heavy in that room for me. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just like...
Maybe the air.
Maybe it was stuffy and there was a lot of people in a small room. I don't know. I kind of got a little emotional because...
I love that.
That's still really sad. That's 130 people that ended their lives. Terminally ill or not, like...
It still happened.
I just think it was like we were in the same room next to the van, and we could just literally see inside where all of them.
Like how many people stared into the ceiling or whatever of that van and had their final moments.
Where he went and either picked them up or they met somewhere, and just like you can tell it had history. You can feel it.
The dents in the bumper told me it had seen some stuff.
My question is, what was the process after he would assist them? Like, he would just dump them? Or...
I didn't see anything about that. I wonder that too.
I heard some of them, like the one lady with that dementia. Mm-hmm. She was actually told to get her back to her family and they had actually a big old memorial thing. Like it's a big old.
It took me a while to find this website, and I found the most amount of information besides Wikipedia. It's almost like it's just kind of hard to find a lot of info on him. It's kind of weird.
Well, because it's such a hard topic to talk
We'll just have to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll give us some insight.
So I'm sorry if that was choppy. I tried to get through it the best I could.
No, it's all good. It's
but
in a dark, weird way, it's kind of a poetic story. As far as true crime or twisted people.
It's fascinating. Like I remember hearing about it, kind of growing up, and I was kind of
Yeah.
Now that I think about it now, I'm like, that's heavy. Mm-hmm. Imagine someone came up to you and said, "Hey, can you help me do this?" And like one of your best friends asked you that, and you're like, I don't know. Like I really wouldn't know what to do. And this guy's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it for science."
Yeah, but he was very adamant that he would assess the situation, or when he was proposing the idea, he believes that the patient should be analyzed by a doctor and they should have a medical opinion of whether it would be beneficial or whether it would...
Like if they have a chance to actually survive without it.
Yes. So it's not like he was going out there...
He needed doctor's notes.
What?
He needed doctor's notes.
Yeah. Basically. It was a prescribed death.
Like there was some reports...
No, but again, that's the poetic part of it. Like, there's so many double entendres and everything involved in this entire story. Like, I'm gonna prescribe you the Dr. Death. Like, it's a strange way to think about everything.
And that's something he said too in an interview that I watched. The guy asked him, "So, do you think every single doctor should have this ability?" And he said, "No. I don't, because obviously that leaves a lot of room for misuse." Mm-hmm. He said that he believed people should be certified to make that decision and kind of...
Yeah, which is actually kind of makes sense because they have certain, executioners on death row do it. They pick certain people to do it. I always thought he was, interesting and
Yeah. If you listen to him, what he's saying makes sense. It's how he says it. He's so arrogant. And
just comes off that way.
Yeah. If it was presented in a different way,
who knows? It could have probably been every day, everywhere. One or two people in every state have that ability now.
Or it couldn't have. You don't you
never
know. It's truly hard to say.
It could have been legalized in all the states.
It's hard for me to have an opinion on that because it's just. Really...
I can't develop an opinion on it. I don't agree with suicide, but. To that extent, I really can't have an opinion on it.
I know. I really don't have a stance.
You can't hate the guy. That's the thing. That's what always got me. I could never hate him. I understand why he could do it, but I was always thought he was weird, just horrible
to a certain
guy,
point. He was basically a protester.
Yeah.
It's no different than protesting anything else in this world. He just put it into action.
Yeah.
It's kind of a hard thing to wrap your mind around. It really is.
Yeah. It is.
It can go either way. I definitely want to hear from people on what they think about it, without saying too much, of course, because...
Oh, yeah. I don't think it's a... I mean, I don't want people fighting.
Yeah, no fighting. We're just curious as to how many people might share our opinions, as far as we don't have any. I mean...
Yeah. I don't know. If I had to sit there and make a decision or vote on that specific thing, I think I'd have a really hard time.
I would too.
Yeah, like, you would support one thing he does, but totally disagree with what he did.
For the fact of how difficult it is, I would say I'm probably against it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I understand.
Yeah.
Why he thought the way he did.
It's where that whole moral comes in.
Yeah.
Is it morally good? No, it's bad.
Well, I mean, for him to be as fascinated with death as he was, and to literally sit in the terminally ill section and watch people die, patient after patient, I mean, that's gotta mess with you and really desensitize you.
Yeah. Maybe it was something like growing up, and
it could have been.
Like, you never know.
I want to say that he had a good heart going into it, and that his intentions were noble, but you truly...
It got twisted in there.
Can you say for sure? Like,
no.
Nobody knows anyone's true intentions. The only person that knows them is yourself. Because you can say anything to anyone, you know, and...
Get it twisted. Or
yeah, it doesn't mean it's true.
So that was a interesting story.
Yeah, I knew it would cause a lot of emotions and debate, so I was really excited to
What do you think, Vincent?
I said what I thought, Jeff.
Okay,
we just discussed it.
I'm sorry.
Do you not listen to anything we say?
Were you?
So, Jeff, what is your topic today?
Hello, guys. So...
Hello, guys.
And girls.
You're
and
so
girls.
cute.
So, Jeff,
all right, so Jeff,
what is your story?
So I didn't really know that much about Michigan besides, you know, the story we just heard, and I figured I had an idea. That's what she was thinking about doing, but I didn't know for sure, because our ideas are always a surprise to each other, right? So that way the audience knows that we don't plan it with each other. It's always...
We like the natural reactions of each other's faces.
Like how Brent didn't even know the story, and...
I like your face.
Yes, thank you. Okay, well, I decided, there's an island in Michigan called Mackinac Island. You know that one?
I glimpsed across the title. I didn't read about it, though.
Okay. So I didn't really, didn't know that much about it, and I'm like, interesting, so...
I want to say, Jeff texted me and asked, are you doing a story that starts with an M? So while I was doing my research, I avoided everything that started with an M. Everything.
Good.
And you know what is even worse about it? We're in Michigan.
So avoid the state?
So I was like, awesome, Jeff. Awesome. Just wanted to say that out loud. Go ahead. The reason I saw the Mechanic Island, or however it's pronounced, is because it started with an M.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So, pretty much I was just looking up a couple websites, and so just trying to find out a little bit more about it. And one of the signs, as soon as you go in on this island, as soon as you take a boat there, it says, "Welcome to Mackinac Island, where the ghosts outnumber the living." So, oh, okay, interesting. The cause of the hauntings and stuff can usually be traced back to something odd occurring in the area, and, you know, typical stuff.
There's always a backstory.
There's always a backstory. Sometimes it's murder or suicide. Often is attributed to the makeup of the land, like, you know, weird symbols, weird grave sites, or, you know, something old about the land, something ancient. And sometimes it's, you know, dark rituals, ancient spirits. But in this case, this island has every single thing. So it has a little piece of everything bunched up together to make it extra paranormal for you guys. Archaeological dig places, they pretty much dug up old Native American settlements on the land as far back as 900 AD. It not only served as a prime fishing location, but that the Anishinaabe tribe considered it a sacred place, believing it to be home to the Great Spirit.
The Great Spirit?
The Great Spirit. Pretty much their god. That's where it came from. God came from this island.
What?
Yeah, so I was like,
God's
okay.
an American.
Well, if you think about it, if you're on an island...
I'm sorry.
They're God.
They're God.
They're God. The creator of everything.
The
Spirit.
The island was created by the Great Hare, Machabu, and is this reason that the tribe would only trek to the island to make sacrifices to the Gitche Mantu. Pretty much on top of the island, there is a mountain, and they would sacrifice things there. for this guy.
Like a
Thanks for
shrine or
breaking it
mantle.
down for me. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to.
They would
not
make
be as confusing.
sacrifices to the Great Spirit.
Yeah, and they only go deeper into the island just to do that.
Got it.
So, despite the island's importance to the tribe, Mackinac was mysteriously deserted by the time European explorers discovered it in the mid-1600s.
Wow.
So these people came along and said, well, there were people here, not anymore. Let's move in. Well, we don't know what happened to them. There are bones everywhere, but just move in.
That's oh my gosh.
And they noticed like there was like old ritual stuff on top of this mountain, and like they thought there was like a volcano at one time there, but yeah, or like just big old pits of bones of some kind. They're like, let's just move here. It's fine. It's fine. After being settled by the French, the British took control of the island, establishing Fort Mackinac in 1780. Somehow the fort managed to escape any battles in the American Revolution, but was soon handed over to the United States through the Treaty of Paris in 1783. And then eventually the island got captured by the British, and there was a lot of battles there that no one even knew about. It had record 6 or 7 major battles over this fort on some island. Despite numerous bloody attempts by the American soldiers to recapture it, the back and forth finally came to an end, though, in 1815, thanks to the Treaty of Nantes, putting the island in the hands of the United States ever since. So pretty much after everything that happened, British actually owned the island after the war, and then they had a treaty and said, you can go away now. This is our land. This is America.
This is America.
This is America. So, they started, popularizing it. So after the Civil War, Yellowstone became the national park, pretty much, of the country. This place was actually the second major park in the United States. Everyone actually knew about it back then.
National monument.
National monument. Like right now, one of ours is the Grand Canyon. Everyone knows about it. This island was one of the major things back then. It was Yellowstone and this. That's all people really knew about. And then I guess that New York lady statue. That's what this one reporter said. They found some old textbooks and stuff that this was more popular than that. I'm like, I never heard about this, but okay. Today, Mackinac Island looks much like it did back then, thanks in part to ordinances that require landowners to maintain the Victorian look of the buildings of the property. So the town made it law you had to keep it vintage. There is another law that forbid personal vehicles on the island.
Oh.
And major roads. You only find a bridge to the mainland, so you have to only get there by ferry. So just imagine old-fashioned, Civil War.
So is it small? I mean, do people just walk everywhere?
I couldn't find actual size of it, but anyway, so pretty much people that end up moving there, they actually like it there so much, how basic and how simple it is, that they just eventually die there. It's a good place to go retire to die.
They go live there until they die?
Until they die, yeah.
They don't just go on the island and...
some people...
Assisted suicide.
Assisted suicide?
Does that work with work animals?
No, he didn't have his, his car around.
He couldn't have a van.
Oh, yeah, he couldn't have his van.
Oh, man.
Debunked.
But no, people would, I guess, go there. Even college kids would go there as, spring break or fun, and they would end up staying there. They like how vintage it was and how simple it was. They didn't really have that much technology. They just wanted... Okay, Kaylee, you can stop that.
Sorry. You didn't have to stop.
Yeah.
So
there's quiet.
Yeah. They have a lot of old buildings. They have an old fort, a hotel, a couple of old bars and stuff. The main one, one of the main ones I want to talk about is the Grand Hotel. It was built in the late 19th century. Legends say that when the construction crew was digging the hotel's foundation, they began to find so many human skeletons that they just lost track of them all and just gave up and just said, well, okay, just build over it. People back then, like my other story. I just build stuff on top of it. It's okay. Nothing bad gonna happen here, guys.
They're in Michigan, not New Jersey.
I'm trying to work with my boys, guys. Just make a hotel over all.
Sued by Mario.
I'm not doing Mario. I'm trying to play a gangster cop. Yeah, copper. You're not gonna get me, copper. Okay. Anyway. Okay, they just that Grand Hotel was built, on top of all these bones.
Bodies.
And in the hotel, an evil entity in the form of a black mass is known in there. A maintenance man noticed 2 glowing red eyes peering from a dark shadow hovering above the theater floor.
Ooh.
As he watched in horror, the black form began to rush towards him, knocking him off his feet.
No.
2 days later, the man woke up in a hospital and swore to never return to the Grand Hotel.
Ugh.
He couldn't exactly see what it was. All he could see was just the red eyes and just right. So I tried looking more into that, account because it was just a testimony, but I couldn't find them.
So is that hotel still there?
Apparently it is. And the story doesn't stop there. Some staff have reported seeing a man in a top hat frequently second floor bar's piano, playing it, only to disappear moments later, leaving only a lingering scent of a cigar behind. And others have reported a woman in Victorian clothing that tends to roam the hotel's employees' housing. Sometimes even curling up next to workers as they lay down in bed for the night.
No.
And apparently she would just cry and moan and
You're supposed to cuddle.
No, she would apparently she would just lay down arms flat out in her dress. Back then the dresses were hard, so she would just somehow float upwards and just lay straight down and start crying. And just start. I don't know how to do it. You know how that.
I know how a cry sounds. Yeah.
Okay, that one creepy cry.
Like a wail.
And then they would look over, and then she'll be gone.
Hmm.
They'll look over, see her just staring up, and then they'll look away, and look back, she'll be gone. So, and then there's the fort that I was talking about earlier, Fort Mackinac, had apparitions of soldier glimpse walking the rifle range trail. So just they saw soldiers passing by, and then they would see phantom limbs throughout it, and in the hospital wing, and they would see a pile of dead bodies and bones.
I don't like that.
And skulls. So they don't know if it was from soldiers or the Native Americans or whatever, the sacrifices.
Mm.
And furniture moving by itself and flipping over on itself. And yeah, so not all the deaths that occurred at Fort Mackinac were those of soldiers either. At least 13 children died there.
Oh.
Victims of typhoid fever, tuberculosis, and other diseases. And those who have heard the cries of children echo through the halls believe that some of their spirits still reside among them.
Oh, poor babies.
Mm.
So yeah, that's kind of gave me chills.
I'm sorry, but ghost children are the worst.
So yeah.
It's the most scary.
So that was two of the major places there. There was one called the Drowning Pool. And it's between Mission Point Resort and the downtown area. And it's pretty much what it is a 20-foot drop off into a pit of some unknown kind of water. Like a swamp. Back in the 1700s and the early 1800s, when the fort was at the heyday, a lot of brothels popped up, and 7 women were accused of being witches and enticing unsuspecting soldiers. They said that the rocks were tied around their ankles and they were thrown into the lagoon. If they sank, they were innocent, so they didn't really, care for a trial or anything. They said, if they're witches, they'll live. If they don't, oh well, they're innocent.
Same old, same old.
Same old, same old. So they threw them into this pit, right? And so now the witches and the accidental drowning still are known to ripple out of the water in dark, shadowy figures. So you look down there and you see things slowly coming out of the water and
I don't like that.
Swamp Thing, yeah. And they said that there was also other deaths besides the witches out, kids falling in there and stuff and being gobbled alive by things.
What?
They fall
swamp
in.
Monsters? Like Shrek?
What you doing in this swamp,
My
boy?
swamp. He's not a pirate.
Yes, he is.
He's not. My swamp.
Yeah. Pretty much what weird, creepy things would be crawling out of the pit against the walls, and then, people would look away and say, do you see this? Look down, they'll be gone.
It's like Jack Kevorkian's painting.
Is it?
Pause.
Okay. Interesting.
Sort of.
Kind of, in a way. Yeah, and they would say that people were always afraid of falling into it. So, anyway, the drowning pit, that seemed pretty creepy. That was another major part of town. And then the last major place that I could find is the Mission Point Resort / Church Resort. So built in the 1950s as a world conference center for the Moral Realignment occultist religious group. They aim to mold everyone's view to their own liking. So pretty much, I don't know if you guys know about the other religious cults. They're saying you're going to do our way or you're going to die.
A cult.
Yeah. And you had to believe in our way, otherwise you will die or we will kill you and make you. And if they didn't like you, they would hang you, supposedly.
Nice.
Or it was around where all the hangings were. And in the 60s, Harvey, the victim of a broken heart, made his way to the bluffs behind the resort, pulled a gun, and shot himself. His body wasn't discovered for 6 months.
Wow.
So this guy, broken-hearted, went to the back of that church, and boom. And then some skeptics actually think it could have been foul play, and that's why he is haunting the place, including the myth. And he was missing. Apparently, coroner and all these guys said, "Oh yeah, he killed himself." Well, the evidence came out. There was no gun that was missing, and he also had 2 bullets in his head, not 1. So if you wouldn't shoot yourself, why would you shoot yourself again?
Well, it could have been a dual chamber.
Dual chamber, yeah. Well, they're saying, well,
true.
And they're saying,
Sorry.
well, there's, and then like the report from the coroner said it was a revolver.
They had dual chamber revolvers.
So yeah, so that's why
There's a lot there. But
that's why it was kind of like interesting.
no one knows for sure. Never will. There's only 1, maybe 2 people out there that know.
Yeah, they think it was religious people going after him and stuff, or they believe it was an inside job with all the cops, and they don't really know the full story of it. They see this guy walking around haunting the place. Yeah, and then there was a couple other spirits that said inhabit the resort, from ghosts of a young girl heard calling for her parents, to Native American spirits wandering the property, to a woman singing old-time music near the theater.
That'd be creepy.
That would be creepy, yeah. Especially if it was like a religious /
old music and children. Those are creepy.
Yeah, and then, that demon kind of thing running around with the top hat guy. But that's pretty much all I got. I tried looking up more information to see if they still do the old Victorian kind of stuff. I couldn't find that much on it. So I want to look more like YouTube stuff or...
When we get older or richer, we're just going to have to do like a cross-country visit.
And see
Yes.
what is totally fully true, because I got this off a couple different sites.
And we can do like a touring podcast where today we're just about to walk in or walk to or take a ferry to or...
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like still, as vintage as they say it is. But that's why they said that they want to keep it as original as they can, because if they try to change it up, they said it might cause more spirits to act up.
Oh, could. Very well could.
They said that even people going there with their cell phones, there's been more like, I guess, weird captures of like pictures of demons or creepy stuff in the background, and that there will be more there, and then after a day or two they'll be gone from those people's lives. So like, oh, okay, just skepticism.
Interesting.
But I thought this island was pretty cool, interesting. Like, I don't know if it was just like a tourist thing that they say, from what I found on the websites, that these are more just stories, and that they do have the 4 main places that they were talking about, and like they do a lot of old vintage stuff. And, like, a lot of it seems true. I just don't know about like the ghost stories and stuff. So typical stuff. But yeah, I thought it would be really cool.
You never know.
To go there one day or experience it. Actually, Ghost Adventures, I think they went there. And
that'd be interesting.
Yeah, they said they captured something there.
I might look it up just to see what it looks like.
Yeah. I would say I was gonna look up that thing and see how old it was, or how maybe it was like 10 years ago. Even that's still better than.
Yeah.
Last I got was in 70s for that guy, so I'm way behind on the island. But yeah, go ahead and check it out, guys. Give me your thoughts or opinions on it. And, yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'd love to go there. I mean, obviously, you can never tell for sure off of
what you read on the internet.
You can't tell for sure what's fact versus fiction.
Yeah, but they said that the Ghost Hunters did a TV episode, so I was at least thinking about checking that out that way, and then we always go there sometime.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, road trip.
Ferry
trip. Plane trip.
It's only like 34 hours. I'm kidding. I have no idea how.
That's why we get like a RV or a bus.
So, Brenton, what are you up to now? What is your story?
Well, I have a few that I found interesting. I was trying to do research on... I caught Kaylee's brain fart disease.
Sorry, conspiracies.
Conspiracy theory. I was trying to get information. I really didn't find anything that interested me in Detroit as far as conspiracies. I mean,
yeah, Detroit's boring.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Eminem came from there.
Did he really? I don't know. I'm not obsessed with him like you are.
I'm not obsessed.
They have a movie. He has a little movie.
Just watch 8 Mile.
There you go.
Gosh.
That was a bad time in my life.
Mom Spaghetti.
Let's change the subject.
Anyway, the first one that I really liked to read about was Hell's Bridge.
Okay.
That's scary.
Okay.
We talked about like the Devil's Chair last episode and the Devil's Tree, and now we have Hell's Bridge.
Hell's Bridge.
Oh. So you take the bridge to get to the tree?
No.
From the chair?
No. So Hell's Bridge is based around the tale of Elias Friske. Frisky? F-R-I-S-K-E? Friske?
Frisk.
I'm going to say Frisk because, Elias Friske, a deranged old preacher who, according to blood-curdling lore, Pied Pipered a group of tethered children into the woods near what is now Algoma Township. He slaughtered them, one by one, casting them into Cedar Creek before being caught by their parents and hanged, but not before saying he was possessed by demons. In its current form, Hell's Bridge is a creaky, narrow, metal footbridge in the middle of the woods, where those brave enough to cross at night claim to hear the voices and screams of children, and are sometimes greeted by a black figure with glowing eyes.
That is horrifying.
Where the tale came from. This is where the conspiracy stuff came in, because it tells you the story, and then it kind of debunks it a little bit.
I appreciate that.
So where it came from. There is no record of an Elias Friske in the area, though there was a prominent Friske family beginning in the 1910s. Still, despite the lack of hard facts, anyone who's visited the bridge will attest that there's something out there, and it usually makes its presence known as you are teetering on a shaky metal bridge in the moonlight.
Catches you while you're vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. I remember hearing about the story before.
Rude.
Some say that Michigan has its own version of the Bermuda Triangle. The Midwest version is located in the center of Ludington-Benton Harbor on Manitowoc. Common creepy occurrences here include shipwrecks, UFO sightings, and missing planes.
Oh.
The disappearance of Captain George Donner of the O.M. McFarland is one of the spookier tales from the Triangle. Supposedly, in 1937, the freighter was within the Triangle when Donner disappeared from his cabin. The cabin was locked from the inside. He was never found aboard the ship, and no one could ever figure out where he'd gone. Another tragedy occurred in 1950 when Northwest Flight 2501 disappeared over the Triangle while traveling from New York to Seattle. The fact the plane dropped into the Lake Michigan is undisputed, but the plane itself was never found.
What?
Another story that I came across is very popular in Michigan is the Michigan Dogman. It was first spotted in Wexford County in 1887 by a pair of lumberjacks who claimed they saw an animal they thought was a dog. Upon chasing down the animal out of curiosity, they discovered it was actually a dog's head attached to a man's body.
Gross.
Other stories followed. A farmer was supposedly found lifeless near his plow with a giant dog track surrounding his body. A boat captain and his crew claimed they were targeted by a pack of dogs, only to see one dog stand up on its hind legs. The standing dog reportedly had narrow yellow eyes and a man's body. With time, the Dogman story faded into relative obscurity, and it might have stayed that way if not for Northern Michigan DJ Steve Cook. That's a mouthful.
Thank you, Cook.
DJ Steve Cook. In 1987, Cook recorded a song about the Dogman, which became quite popular. This led to increased public interest in the Dogman, and perhaps due to the power of suggestion alone, more and more related stories were reported and sightings as well.
Totally a coincidence.
And there's like a statue, it looks like in Michigan, of what the Dogman, just to kind of put an image in your head. It's kind of creepy.
I don't like that.
In a way.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Huh?
So I just came across that picture with it, and it was just kind of like...
So if you pet
it puts an image in your head.
Yeah, I don't like that.
The Nain Rouge, it's French for red dwarf. Okay, the red dwarf is French for red dwarf. It's an ominous figure in Detroit folklore. According to legend, Detroit's founder, Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac.
What?
Cadillac Coupe de Ville.
Seriously. Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac.
Maybe it's mouth, because that's a mouthful.
He encountered a demon-like creature that called itself the Nain Rouge.
Nain Cat?
The Red Dwarf. And cursed the entire city. This creature is said to have popped up throughout Detroit's history, usually during tragic events. Sightings were reported during the 1805 fire, which burnt almost the entire city to the ground, as well as during the 1968 riots. In 1976, 2 police officers claimed to see what they thought was a child climbing a utility pole during a harsh snowstorm, only to realize it was the Red Dwarf. In recent years, the Red Dwarf has become a beloved fixture in Detroit. In 2010, citizens began having an annual parade in celebration of the creature. In addition, local wine companies and breweries and beer makers even make wine and beer in honor of the demonic entity. Those are all the stories that I found.
That's
very
awesome.
Interesting.
So there's a potential evil, dangerous demon running through the streets. What are we gonna do? Let's drink to it.
I would celebrate it because if it pops up every time there's a really bad thing in Detroit, you know, it might as well celebrate it so maybe it'll stop coming around.
Maybe. You never know. Attention can go one of 2 ways. Either it turns out really good for you, or it just invites him to mess more stuff up.
My plan worked.
I think the first story I read, though, it hit the hardest for me. I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, I found Kaylee's story the most interesting.
Duh. It's Dr. Death.
There's just a poetic justice there that I really admire.
There's a lot of debate that surrounds him and his ideas and everything that he stands for. I mean, when it's all said and done, that's 130 people who passed away before it
in
was
his
their
presence.
Time. Yeah, in his presence.
One thing that I thought about too is because he spent all that time in the terminally ill area of hospitals. That's probably where his idea clicked to where he witnessed them suffering, and he probably asked some of them to get this general thesis of, hey, you're suffering a lot. How would you feel if there was a way that you could just end it now?
Yeah. It's like that lady that he gained so much attention from, she sought him out.
Yeah.
I mean, these people went in there willingly. They knew what they were getting into. They knew exactly what it was. It's not like he tricked them. He didn't coerce them into it.
No.
They knew what they were doing.
And they had to come prepared with proof.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not killing you because you want to die.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're not like a suicidal teen or...
Yeah.
You know,
You actually have dementia that you're losing in battle.
Because that was one of my things, too. But you said that they had planned that before she got the dementia. Because then there'd be a lot of she's not in her right mind scenario.
Yes. She was diagnosed, however, it didn't start... It wasn't in full effect.
Just certain stages and...
Yeah. So it was in the beginning stages.
Right.
Which also had me a little... I was on the fence about that one, too. Because technically...
I mean, because I said, I understand. There's a lot of people out there that I've actually heard them say, if I ever become like this or like that, I don't just end it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, don't put that on me. I'm not pulling your plug.
And then he's like, I'll do it. I don't care. Can I watch you do it? Can I look in your eyes when you do it?
Yeah. So, I mean, and from a very young age, he had this obsession, you know...
Seeing the life leave.
Well, maybe, it sounds weird, but maybe whenever he went to war...
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that affected him.
Well,
imagine seeing your friends.
He was medical. So people died in front of him all the time.
So he saw a lot of death even before all of this.
And maybe that's why he was like also so passionate about, you know, getting the blood transfers and stuff. That's what I was trying to get at. Like,
It became an obsession.
Oh,
imagine seeing your friends and family die in front of you. He wants to find a cure for death.
The way it sounds like it is, you know, because any obsession can be justified. And that's what he did, is he found justification through his obsession.
Yeah.
And they just fed off of each other.
And, like, growing up as, you know, spiritual and whatever, in the Bible, you're not supposed to kill yourself. It's a really bad sin.
Well, he ended up being pretty much anti-religion.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe he saw that, and that's why he kind of chose that in a way.
I think from just research and what I saw through interviews, pretty much any major and popularized belief,
Globalized
it's harder the more I try.
I know.
Popularized. Sure, is that close enough? I don't know.
Global popularized belief?
I don't even know if it's a word.
The more popular a belief was, the less he wanted anything to do with it. Or, yeah.
So
He liked the bandwagon.
He hated the bandwagon.
No, you just said the more popular it was, the
More
more
he-
he hated it.
Well,
Yes.
he hated it.
Okay, so he was...
Wow, my
He,
brain.
he was a trailblazer. He was not a bandwagoner.
Yes. He did not
So,
follow
like,
he hated social norms. He
You
hated...
know, but that's one of the things I have to think about too. Is like with like Jeff mentioned earlier, is like, you know, organ donors and stuff like that. I'm really curious if a lot of what he pushed back then created somehow. This is what he was pushing. This is what I want to do with his idea.
Yeah.
Is not voluntarily have people donate things because they want to die, but if I die through natural causes, use my body to help someone who's living.
and like,
Yeah.
imagine like in war, if someone got shot like in the liver or kidney, and like you had a guy who was already dead, you can take out his kidney, have emergency surgery, give it to this other guy, and have him live.
With a matching blood type, though.
Yeah, or like imagine like this guy was thinking so far ahead. What if I take this guy's eye and put in this guy's eye who's blind? What if I, somehow was thinking way, like you said, way far ahead than...
Shout out Will Smith, 7 pounds. Amazing movie. Thanks for listening, guys. We had a lot of fun. We got really off track there, but you guys will never know. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Oh.
Hold on.
What? Oh, yeah.
Before we go,
What do we have ready for us, Keely?
we have a weird law from Michigan.
Oh, boy, this is going to be fun.
Are you ready for this?
No.
You're not.
Hold on my seat.
Well, we know there's no assisted suicides.
Yes. That's my law. Thank you. Bye. Just kidding.
Good night.
So, in Michigan, it is illegal to paint sparrows to sell them as parakeets. And the reason why I chose that one is because I just had that image of Dumb and Dumber in my head. That was my, that's why I chose that one. So yeah. Don't do that.
Interesting.
Don't paint sparrows.
Right.
Don't do it.
Again,
Especially in Michigan.
she gets the law.
Okay.
Well, can I do it here in Arizona?
Don't assist people in their suicide, and don't paint sparrows as parakeets.
Yep.
Okay, I'm covered. I can go to Michigan.
And have a wrap-off.
All right, everyone. This is probably going to be a really long episode or
A lot of cutting.
a lot of cutting for me either way. So, thank you so much for listening to another episode. And
Wait, before we go, our social media.
yeah, I'm going to tell the social
Okay,
media.
sorry.
But last episode, I kept calling it episode 4.
It wasn't.
It was episode 5.
Because we did 2 and 1.
Yeah.
It's
My
fine.
bad.
So this is episode
6. Yeah.
Ish.
6.
Ish.
6.
6.
So if you want to send us any of your personal stories, you can email us at unitedstatesofhorror@gmail.com. And then you can tweet us at USofHorror. Or you can find us on Instagram at United States of Horror. We're also on Facebook. It's just facebook.com/United States of Horror. We're also on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
The other ones too. Yeah.
Castbox, Radio Public.
Hashtag.
Hashbag.
Hashbag. So I got a
Is
bag
that a
of
bag
hash.
full of hash browns?
We're in Michigan.
The word hash automatically brings hash browns to your mind.
Yeah, what else is it?
Hashtag.
Hash.
What's hash?
You know. Oh my gosh, Kayla, you're so.
We're learning so much about each other tonight. Kaylee's never seen 7 pounds.
You've never seen Dumb and Dumber, and Kayla doesn't know.
What is hash? You guys suck. I'll just Google it.
Give me hash, and I'll give you cash.
Is it a drug?
What's that slang?
Are you hip today, guys?
Oh god, I'm gonna
Thank
hate
you, everybody,
this.
for listening.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Jeff out, mic drop.
And 1 for the road. Shut up, Jeff.
See you guys on the flip side.